Hey everyone, Ashley Mailloux, Mike Beer here, taking a look at one of the stakes races this Saturday at Gulfstream Park. We've already recorded a preview for the Sunshine Classic. Here, we're going to look at the turf race for the fillies and mares, the Sunshine Filly Mare Turf. It's a mile. It's certainly a bigger field than the other stakes race that we looked at, Mike. And I actually thought from a betting perspective, obviously we did this without the morning line, this could be a really intriguing group of fillies and mares.
Yeah, I feel like it's interesting. I'll get your take on this. It's a big field. I do think there's a lot of filler in here, but the 5 or 6 horses, which is almost half the field, who I think you could make cases for, pretty well matched. Didn't think that was necessarily a big standout, and I do feel like the real strength of this field, they're all sort of drawn to the outside here, so trips could be important.
You took my thunder. You stole it. I was going to say
Oh,
it's pretty
sorry.
much the outside six. If you're looking at horses, in my opinion, maybe you could try to make a case for one or two for the bottom, like a fringe player more towards the inside. But it'd be very interesting to see how some of these fillies and mares fare. And we'll take a look at the pace perspective here. This is where things I do think get really intriguing. I felt like there was good speed on paper, at least. Do you feel like they're going to go that quick early on?
I feel like one thing that could push this pace early is what we just sort of talked about. The horses that are drawn outside might have to go to get position in this race. And if they break running here and they're all going forward looking for position, that could heat this pace up, because I do think a few of those horses on that pace projector that we're looking at, they really do want to be forward and be involved early if they can be. And that could certainly heat this pace up.
And we can talk a little bit more about it when we get to the mare on the outside, Great Venezuela from Post 11. She could potentially be the pace setter. She's coming out of sprints where they went very, very quick. Actually raced in some sprint races out west as well at Del Mar 2 back. So with that in mind, we'll kick it off, though, with the number 1, Lady Cha-Cha, who we just saw has actually the LP flag attached to her. She's had one start since going to the barn of Laura Caceres, where I thought she ran okay. Not great. She's mid-pack in there, and I think now she would really need to take a step forward. And I looked at some of her stakes races in the past. She had a good effort at Tampa, but I'm just a little concerned here knowing that we talked about it. There is plenty of speed. I just don't necessarily agree that the speed's going to come back to her.
Yeah, I think you and I kind of tipped our hand a little bit there in the open, where we don't really like these inside horses too much. This mare is fine. She kind of shows up every single time, and being drawn to the rail with her sort of running style, she's going to get to save a lot of ground and maybe work out the right kind of a trip to get a piece of this thing. I could never use her on top in this race, Ashley, but if you told me you wanted to try to sneak her in there in the exotics, I don't think I'd scoff at you too much.
Number 2, Luz de la Luna. This one for Marty Drexler, a reclaim, and he's gone in several times to get her back. A little bit of a claiming war all throughout the 2025 season up at Woodbine. She's consistent. I will give her that. I think this is a little bit of a different ball game now that she's got to go a mile on the turf. And I don't know. I actually still think there's a chance that maybe she scratches out of it when it's all said and done, Mike.
Yeah, that'd be interesting to see. That certainly feels like a possibility. I don't know. Maybe I just, didn't give her enough credit and didn't look at her long enough. But to me, she's a sprinter and she's not a turf horse. Why am I supposed to like her in here?
And similar thought process. That's kind of what I look at the number 3, Miss Mary Nellas. I think you have to look at her from a pace perspective. Excuse me. I just think her better races have been on the Tapeta. Not that her turf race 3 back in the Martha Washington was bad by any means. She ran really well. The winner comes back to win again next time out. She was a huge price in there. I don't know. Based on what I've seen on the grass versus the Tapeta, if this was on the Tapeta, I'd probably be using her.
Yeah, don't have any argument with any of that stuff, because I agree with all of it. I wouldn't be too hard on her for the last race where they put her on the lead and she just seemed like she was overmatched by those horses. But it's not like she gives you anything to really hold on to as a turf horse from her other races. I guess they'll try to go with her in here, but I don't think the pace projector we looked at helps her at all either.
Move to the number 4 in here. This one in the Fernando Abreu barn. A very consistent filly, but she's just 1 for 9 in her career with 6 second and third place finishes combined. And she's been sprinting. She had a long layoff, right? We didn't see her for a majority of the summer. She comes back in the fall in a 6 furlong race, back in a 6.5. And I just feel like you start to see the same thing from her. Best of rest, second best, hung. And now she's got to go further. I don't know what you thought from the pedigree perspective. I wasn't really necessarily enamored by the grass.
Yeah, I didn't see any. I mean, I really respect this trainer. And so that, sort of made me take a second and third look at this horse to try to make a case for her and try to figure out why they were running her in here. I don't see any pedigree to suggest that she's going to be better as a turf router than she is as a dirt sprinter. And her dirt sprints don't make her good enough.
And number 5, Sapphire Girl. Looked at her a little bit. She seemed to come a little bit to life last time out. Maybe it was the turf, maybe it was the mile, maybe it was the combination of things, and the fact that she was making her second start after having a couple of months off. But while she's improved with every start, I'm not saying she can improve in this race come Saturday, but don't you feel like it has to be a pretty big step for improvement?
Yeah, I think it has to be huge improvement. Yeah, I mean, listen, this is a very lightly raced horse for a really good trainer who decides that he wants to run her in this race. So maybe that's enough to get you interested. I don't. She won her turf debut last time. I don't like that race at all. I thought she got a perfect trip and took advantage of it.
The number 6, Spirited Boss, will actually take a look at one of her most recent performances. She's a horse that had time off after a kind of disappointing performance. It was okay, I guess. At Saratoga, give her time off. They stretch her back out. They finally get her on the grass, which was the intention in New York. And I thought this was a really good effort when it's put together. Like the number that she gets, she kind of has to change her path here in this race in those final stages. And she still draws clear by a length and a half. I think now, second start off the layoff, there's a lot of upside and potential for her.
Yeah, I agree. I really like this performance. They're off a little bit of a freshening. The race, you're right. Saratoga, they wanted her on turf that day. It's also almost impossible to turn back and win a 5.5 furlong sprint like that. She actually ran pretty well, getting rained off, but she was so good last time. The trip obviously did work out for her, saving having to alter course, but she just always looked like she was going to win and then finish strongly. She's already a stakes winner against open horses on the grass. This is something I never thought I'd hear myself say, but I'd actually like to see this filly get another chance on synthetic because her all-weather races are really good as well. I don't know. I think she makes a lot of sense in this race.
I think it's her running style too, right, Mike? That she can win on the lead or she can stalk, and combine that with the fact that these horses that we're about to talk about, 7 through 11, they have to work for it a lot more. She draws post 6 in here. Don't you feel like that could just be a trip situation as well?
Yeah, that's a really good point because you're right. The horses we're going to get to are the speed horses to the outside who could just loop her into that first turn. This filly is so handy. It just feels like Irad's going to be able to put her wherever he wants.
The number 7 up next here, the Shima, who comes off a pretty big win, in my opinion, at Churchill. In some ways, I kind of wonder where the performance came from and the fact that it's just not the style we have typically come to know from her. She's typically forward, maybe a length or two off of it. And not that this was not sort of a tight bunch early on, but she was sitting in 7th and she still rallies by. She was favored and gets the win. I don't know how to assess her, Mike. I mean, I really like her and I respect her, and I think you have to. She's 16 for 20 in the money. 10 of them have been wins. I mean, you can't say you don't like her, but I don't know. There was something about her that I thought she could be overbet in here, and I think some of these horses towards her outside are going to give her a little bit of a run for her money.
Yeah, I agree. Listen, price is going to be really important, maybe more for her than anybody else in this field, because she's the thing that strikes me about her actually is it turned out to be a great claim. They claimed her for 8,000 at the end of last year, and just look what they've done with her. A lot of that I think corresponds with sort of concentrating on turf. But listen, she won this race last year just walking on a really slow pace. That effort, I would never bet her if that was like the race that people were sort of leaning into with her. But her last 3 starts on turf are all good, and in 2 of them she did it without the lead, which could be really, really important in here. I mean, I struggled to really warm up to her, but the longer I look at her, the more I like her.
Yeah, and you bring up the 8,000. I mean, she was in for it twice. She was claimed in both of those events. It's kind of mind-boggling because you look at her after that, and you might make your own assumptions about why she was in for 8, right? Yeah. Really never had any big breaks in her races, and they claimed her in 2024, and they made almost $250,000 with her last year. So talk about claims that can go well. She's certainly one of them. The number 8, Super Willowa, up next. I remember talking about this horse last time out. I think it was with a preview with you, Mike, that maybe we kind of looked at this one and trying to assess how she would kind of handle the step up in class. I watched the replay several times. I don't really think she had a ton of trouble at the start. I know it's kind of there in the line. I don't read into it. I really don't know what her excuse was. I just don't think she fired her best. And if you like her efforts before that, maybe you do try to give her one more shot.
Yeah, I agree. Listen, I think her excuse last time, at least in my opinion, because I think you're right. I don't think she had some kind of troubled trip in there, but I think the excuse would be she was way up in class and she was just facing way better. That's a good field. And those horses are just better than these horses. And so taking a step back here with Florida Breds, it's going to work for her. She's still lightly raced. I want to see her do it, sort of without the lead, because I do think her 2 best races are the races where they just put her on the lead and let her dictate things. And when she hasn't gotten to do that, maybe her races aren't as good. But I don't know. She's logical in here. But it all comes down to price, I think. I don't think I'd want to go too short on her.
The number 9, Rugalac, up next, could certainly be part of the pace scenario. Shows plenty of speed out at Del Mar, and kind of look at this one now coming to the Sam Malinsky barn. Came up a little bit short last time out behind Silver Moonlight, who looked like a logical horse in that spot. I thought this was a strong effort for the first time in this barn. And another one, I hate to say it, I mean, she's consistent. She's sort of like a Shima. She fires really good races. I think the difference is, in some ways, I almost feel like she might need the lead depending on the fractions. I know she was really close last time out, but she's kind of given way in her final stages a couple of times.
I sort of looked at her like a need the lead horse too. That bothers me about her because I do think this pace could get competitive. The other thing that just bothers me a little bit is, I didn't necessarily see an excuse for the loss two back at Del Mar. She was loose on the lead in there and got run down. And then there's a voided claim, and then there's a layoff for 5 months. And then she turns up here for this trainer and she gets beat again in another race where I didn't think she necessarily had an excuse. I don't know. I mean, she's got races that make her tough in here, but I'm probably not going to bet her.
I didn't do like my deep dive, but I also wonder with the voided claim, Sam Malinsky and them, they've been going out west. Did they then just decide to, purchase her privately? I don't know. I didn't do that, deep digging, but just kind of thinking about it now makes it a little interesting. But at least her first start in the barn was solid. The number 10, Super Zonda. This is a daughter of Curlin that goes out for Mark Cassey now. She has the same race as Super Willowa, and she finished 4th in there. I don't know. I think it's an okay performance. I thought in terms of, her trip, she sat just off of it. I just don't know if she was good enough in there. And I think we had pretty differing opinions on her going into that race. I'm still not sold on her. And I guess the one positive is we're going to see her, make another consecutive start, less than a month later?
Yeah, I like that they're bringing her back, and she's another one who's, definitely getting class relief for this. I didn't think she ran, poorly last time against that field. I do wish the thing with her, Ashley, is both her first 2 turf races I thought were really good. Her other races just stink. She's not a synthetic horse. She's not a dirt horse. Her turf races are all good, actually. I wish she would have settled a little bit more in that race last time, because it felt like her rider wanted to rate. And she just didn't really want any part of it. She sort of dragged them up there 3 wide around the first turn and just pressing a big long shot on the lead that it didn't feel like she needed to be ridden that way, but maybe she didn't give her rider any other choice. It feels like with time, maybe she can become a little bit of a handier horse. And I do think there's a lot of upside here still.
And we'll round out the field here with the number 11, Great Venezuela, who will take a look at the most recent performance and kind of, see what she was able to do. I think when you look at the race just at face value, you see a huge performance, you see a 93 buyer and a blowout win. I mean, it is a convincing performance, but then you have to factor in it's 5.5, it's Tapeta, and then you start to go back, Mike, and I'm not saying she can't go long because she was second in this race, last year, but we haven't seen her go around 2 turns since then.
Yeah, exactly. And her turf races are all good, but it feels like her fast races are all on the other surface. So, we'll see. Second in this race last year, yes, but we've already sort of touched on that race, Ashley. It was a super slow pace, and she just got to sit second. Nobody passed anybody the entire way around the track. She sat second behind the winner the entire way and never made a race of it. It didn't make me feel like she's better going this distance. And by the way, this pace is supposed to be a lot faster.
Yeah, and just looking at it, 1, 2, 3, it was a merry-go-round race there last year in the Sunshine Filly Mare Turf. So that's the field of 11. We'll move to our top selections, and it's interesting. I think we see things similarly, and then we kind of go a little bit of a different way. You toss the 11, I don't use the 10, but I think when it came down to it, Spirited Boss, hate to use the same word, they felt like it had almost, the most upside. Isn't exiting the race that several are, that obviously was tougher, but seems to be coming in here off a good form, and like where she's drawn.
Yeah, I'm with you on all those things. I like her post position. I like her running style. I like how handy she is. I like all of her races. I just think I think she's a really logical horse in here. I'll be interested to see what kind of price they offer. I'm not done with the 10 yet, Super Zonda. I still think there's upside there too. I'm going to use her again.
We both will use the 8 in there. I'll use Rugalac and Great Venezuela. I just didn't want to toss out the 11 completely, but I just feel like at this distance, this is not her forte, especially over the turf course at Gulfstream. She's just 1 for 5. But we both tossed the 7, Ashima, who is one of those horses that you're thinking about wiggling in and you just don't have room. And I don't know if I should be happy or sad that we both tossed that one. Maybe that's a vote of confidence to not use Ashima. But let us know who you like in the comments and who you'll be playing in race 11 this Saturday at Gulfstream. Good luck.